She works for the organisation Sherpa, which defends victims of economic crimes and which is taking part in a lawsuit against Lafarge Holcim. Thank you for being with us here on France 24 tonight. First of all, tell us a bit more about your suit against Lafarge. These are very serious charges. You say that by having business relations with ISIS in Syria, Lafarge is actually guilty of financing war crimes and crimes against humanity.
Financing terrorism first, and then by financing terrorism and the Islamic groups being complice of war crimes and crimes against humanity.
Now, new laws have been passed in France since the Lafarge case, which aim to stop this kind of thing from happening again, which aim to force companies to respect certain norms abroad. Are you hopeful that these new laws will be effective?
We're very hopeful that this new law we are working on for years would be really helpful for victims to get access to justice in those kind of cases, and cases also like the Rana Plaza case. You know, we sued also a complaint on this case, or forced labor. This law would be really effective in this kind of violations of human rights of mother companies, of multinationals in general, and actually, I would like to say that there's a very big risk because the Constitutional Court has been seized here in this case, and there's a risk that the Constitutional Court would decide that this law is against the freedom of doing business, and this would prevent all those victims to really have a new tool, a very good tool, to sue companies for human rights violations.
Right, because a lot of these multinational companies who are operating in places like Afghanistan or Syria or other places where there is conflict, or indeed when there is poverty or where there is corrupt governments, they say they do their best to verify what is going on, but they can't possibly know what is going on in every local branch and every contractor and every subsidiary. And actually, when you're making it more difficult for those companies to operate there, you're taking investment away from these countries.
Actually, this is what they're saying, and this is also what they're saying in their ethical commitments. In the case of Lafarge, for example, they had very beautiful ethical commitments, but those commitments are not sufficient anymore, and this is why really a hard law was really needed in this kind of case, and why we really supported this law. And you're right, this is difficult in this kind of cases of lots of subcontractors and subsidiaries. This is the argument for the companies against the law. But who's obliging the companies to have like 10 or 20 subcontractors abroad? They can also like have reasonable chain value, you know, value chains, so that they could control them. And when they are actually saying in their commitments, in their ethical commitments to the consumers, that they are very responsible and that they are controlling all the stages of their value chains, they should definitely do it. So I think this law would really be beneficial for the companies who are actually responsible, because this is what they are actually doing.
And just to go back to the Lafarge case, it's a difficult one for them, isn't it? Because they were operating in a country which was then hit by a civil war. They have since closed that plant and those operations. Yes. Should they have done that sooner? Should they have said, there's a war going on here, we're pulling out, that's it?
Look, they didn't close the factory. The factory was attacked by the Islamic groups, and it was attacked when some employees, and the employees actually who were also in the complaint, were still inside. There were no evacuation plan planned. So yes, they should have left the country before like Total or Bell or other multinationals had left the country since 2012. So we are actually wondering why really Lafarge stayed until September 2014, when actually in July already a Kurd commandant asked them, according to the elements we have, to leave because they could not ensure their security. So, yes, for us, they should have lived before.
Okay.
Should have lived.
Marie-Laure Ghislain, thank you very much indeed for talking to us.
Thank you.